Hello, everyone. I am Lavi Jen, your host for tonight. And we also have Katie, who would be watching out for all the comments, questions, and everything. Well, it's been a while since we have had a meetup. Hope you have been keeping safe and sane during this period. So, without further ado, let's move on to our agenda for the evening. So, event kickoff and introduction, we've already started with it. And our first talk would be in just 5 minutes, which is what's new in Jetpack Compose. Second talk would be about how fast is your Android app. And finally, we'll be wrapping up with some exciting giveaways. Awesome. So as you know, we are already in 11 weeks of Android, and it is currently week 10, games and media. For more information, check out the link. All right. So big news for students. Developer student clubs are university-based community groups for students, and they have been launched. So if you want to find one in your region, you can always visit dsc.community.dev. And we have two in Melbourne from RMIT, Rohini, and from University of Melbourne, we have Zakaria Bhatt. And Zakaria is actually organizing his first event, which is a welcome event, and on this Friday. And we have Maxim Lin, who is a Flutter GDE, who would be speaking about introduction to Flutter. So if you need to RSVP or need more information, just visit bit.ly/DSC Unimelb and he'll also be posting it on Slack. So you can find us on Meetup or visit our website on gdgmelbourne.com. We are quite active on social media, on Twitter and on LinkedIn. And if you would be doing any socials tonight, you can use the hashtag of Android11 Meetup, and do not forget to tag us along. And you can join us on Slack on this link. These are a few handy channels for you. We have Showcase, which is a new channel. And if you have any news stories or products that you want to share with the community, go ahead and post in this one. And if you're looking for work or looking to hire someone, you can always check out the Melbourne Jobs or Jobs General channel. And if you have any questions that you would like to answer, which is something specific you would like to know, then you can go to specific channels. All right. So we at GDG, we are always looking for speakers. So if you have learned something interesting or built something new or have an opinion about something, feel free to present it at GDG. You can fill out the form or reach us out on speakers or Melbourne speakers on Slack. And we also provide some excellent speaker mentoring. Next, I would like to thank all our sponsors, Itty Apps, our gold sponsor, DS, our silver sponsor, Google, Cognizant, Ospost, and Blue, which are our community sponsors. Thank you so much. And all right, moving on to our code of conduct. We here at GDG Melbourne are dedicated to providing an inclusive environment for everyone and would love to have people thrive in the community. And hence, we maintain a code of conduct, which you can read either at our website or on our Meetup page. Alrighty, exciting times. So we will be having some really cool giveaways that include 4 Redbubble vouchers, our very own Melbourne company that has some really awesome stuff on their website. And we also have 2 GDG Melbourne swag packs to give away. You can answer the questions via Slack at the end of the event. Awesome. Lastly, before I move on to our first talk, if you have any questions during the talk or otherwise, feel free to ask them on YouTube live chat, and we will get them at the end of each talk. Alrighty, let's welcome our first speaker for the night, Bilal Khan, all the way from India. Bilal is a founder of Simplified Coding. He's a Google developer expert in Android. He'd be talking about what's new in Jetpack Compose. So over to you, Bilal. Bilal, you're mute.
Sorry, guys. Am I audible? Can anyone confirm, please? Okay, fine. So, hi everyone. My name is Bilal Khan, and I am here to tell you about Jetpack Compose. Now, everyone watching, please comment yes if you heard the name Jetpack Compose already. So what is Jetpack Compose? Let me tell you a very fancy definition. It is the next generation UI toolkit completely written using Kotlin. Why next generation? I think because it is completely different from what we are using currently. You all know we are using XML to design our Android apps. Whatever we see in our apps are designed with XML. But now we have another option that will be way better than using XML because Jetpack Compose is awesome. We just describes the UI and Compose generates the output. Basically, we write way less code than XML when using Jetpack Compose. And all these benefits accelerates our development time. So here is another question for you all. Do you want to try Jetpack Compose? Please comment. Right now, we do not have the stable version of Jetpack Compose, but the developer preview 2 is out now. And if you want to play with it, you need to get Android Studio 4.2. That is available in the Canary channel for now. So just go to this link and get the Android Studio 4.2 and you are ready to play with Jetpack Compose. You can add Jetpack Compose to your existing project, but you would like to create a fresh project, right? So here we have a new project template that is empty compose activity. Use this to create a Jetpack Compose enabled project and you can start playing with Jetpack Compose. And now I will show you a very simple example and that is, please guess, hello world, of course. So previously we were using set content view, but with Jetpack Compose, as you can see in the code snippet, we will use the set content function. And inside the trailing lambda, we can call the composable functions. So there are two types of composable functions. First one is already defined composable functions. Here you can see text is an already defined composable function, and you can consider it as a text view. Inside the text function, we are passing the text that needs to be displayed and the size of the font. And that's it. That's enough to create a text view. Now, please compare it with your XML text view. How many lines of code you will write for creating a text view with XML? Comment the answer, please. But with Jetpack Compose, this one single line is enough to make a text view. And that's awesome, right? But displaying a simple text view is kind of very boring thing to do, right? So let's try something little complex. I have a UI component here. So can anyone tell me how would you design the above image in your application when you're using XML? And you know, there is a very popular library in GitHub that is called Circular Image View if you have used it. Did you use it? Just think, with XML, even we need a third-party library sometimes for a very simple thing. But with Jetpack Compose, designing it is just a piece of cake. So I'll show you how you can design this complex design with Jetpack Compose very easily. So what we need to do is we need to create a composable function. Now, what is a composable function? It is just a normal Kotlin function with a composable annotation, as you can see in the code snippet. So I have a function here that is called profile picture. And inside the function, first I will define my circular shape because we want to create a circular image view. After defining the shape, we will create image using another composable function, and that is image. It is a composable function and you can consider it as image view. Inside this function, I am passing my image asset using the drawable resource files. Now, to modify the shape of my image view, I will use modifier, and we have a modifier class. And with the help of modifier, first I am calling size to make my image of a specific size. Now, after defining the size, I will set some padding. You can do it, it's optional. Then finally, I will draw shadow around my image. And for the shadow, I am defining the circular shape here, and it will make our image view circular. So it is very easy to do it with Jetpack Compose, as you can see. And now you can set multiple borders around your image view as well. As you can see, I just called the function draw border 2 times. And we have 2 borders around our image view. We have the result. You can see how easy it is to create a complex design using Jetpack Compose.
Hello, everyone. I think there's been a bit of network cutout from Bilal's end, and we have him back. Awesome.
Yeah, what happened? Where I was? I think, hello?
Hi, Bilal. You need to share your slides.
Where did it stop? Which slide?
Um, I think it was, if you can share your slides, I'll tell you the number.
Okay. This one?
You haven't shared it on the screens yet.
Okay, okay. Let me share the screen.
Yes, from here.
Here.
You can actually go back.
Okay. This one? Hello
No,
world?
no. Next. Yes, you had completed this one. You were on the code snippet. So you were just ending this one.
Okay. We have the result. If you want to add a click event to this image, then it is also very easy. So what you need to do is with the modifier, we will call one more function that is clickable. And in the trailing lambda, we will get our click event callback. And here we can do whatever we want. Here on click, I am changing the shape of the image. So if the shape is circle shape, I am changing it to cut corner shape, else it will be circle shape again. So it is very easy to change the shapes of existing components with Jetpack Compose. And here you can see what the result we will get. So it is very easy to create some awesome shapes with Jetpack Compose. Now, another awesome thing about Jetpack Compose is we can preview our UI components without even running the application. And these previews are interactive. And this means we can test click events, logics, and everything without even running the application. And this feature, I think, will be lifesaver for us because you all know how much we get frustrated while compiling and running an Android application. And we also see a lot of memes in the internet. For example, this I'm still waiting for Gradle to build. So now let's try something more interesting. And I am talking about Recyclerview. So can anyone tell me that the steps that we required for creating a Recyclerview? So the first thing that we will do is we need to create a Recyclerview in our XML. Then we need to create a layout file for our list items. Then we will create a Recyclerview adapter, and then we will configure the Recyclerview and we will set the adapter. Only 4 steps, right? But all these 4 steps requires a lot of code. And you already know it if you have created a Recyclerview, and a Recyclerview is the most common component that we need in almost every application. Now guess how much code we will write to create Recyclerview in Jetpack Compose. It is very, very, very easy. Let's see. We just need 2 composable functions. The first one is our layout design. And here I have the user card that is displaying an image and a text. So I have some composable function here that is card, box, image, and text. And I am displaying my UI using these functions. This is my list item. Now to create a recycler view, we need one more composable function that will take the list, and we just need to call adapter list inside the trailing lambda. We need to call sorry, inside the adapter list, we need to pass the list items that we need to display. And inside the trailing lambda of the adapter list, we will call our layout composable function and we will pass the individual layout information. For example, here I am passing my user object and it will display the user in the card. And that's it. No layout files, no adapters, nothing. You have your recycler view. It's very easy, right? Now, please tell me, would you like to go with Jetpack Compose? Even if your answer is yes, it is very difficult to migrate to a completely new thing if you have an existing application project. And that is why the last and the most important feature of Jetpack Compose is interoperability. Jetpack Compose is completely interoperable with our existing XML designs. So you do not need to migrate or rewrite your whole project, but you can start adding Jetpack Compose for new modules and you are good to go. You can switch to Jetpack Compose slowly at your own pace, bit by bit. And that is all from my side. Please start playing with Jetpack Compose, get the preview version of Android Studio and start playing with Jetpack Compose. If you have any question, you can ask. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bilal. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to post them either on Slack or on YouTube Live comments. Any questions? Just waiting for any questions.
Someone said 4 lines. Sorry, I said it is 4 steps, not 4 lines.
No questions? Okay, awesome. So if anyone has any questions, you can always post it on Slack. And we'll be moving on to our second speaker for the night. Just a moment. Alrighty. So if you have any questions, do post on Slack. And our second speaker for the night is Douglas Sillis, all the way from UK. And he's a Google developer expert in Android and a freelance developer advocate, solutions architect. And he will be presenting on how fast is your Android app. Over to you, Doug. Would you like to share your screen?
I'm going to unmute myself first. We'll go through the steps here slowly. All right, share my entire screen. We get infinite view. I love that. Ooh, that's always fun. Okay. Sorry, I will stop playing and we'll start talking about how to make your Android app faster. All right, can you see my screen? I'll just take that as a yes. I can't see the chat because I only have one monitor where I'm at right now. But let's talk a little bit about how we can make mobile apps faster. I'm Doug. As Lovey said, I do freelance developer relations. I help people make the web and apps faster. For those of you who are interested, and you are all Android developers, I wrote a book a few years ago. Like it's a little bit dated, like it references Marshmallow because that's what was out at the time, but it's free, so download it. That's the PDF. So take a look. All of the tools actually still work and they're still being supported that I talk about. Some of them have been updated and stuff. I'm Doug Siller, so reach out, Twitter, Gmail, my website. I blog about performance all the time. So I'm going to start off with this picture of an Alp in Switzerland. And the reason I have this picture is that's literally like a walkway nailed to the side of a mountain. And like, how many of you just think in your head, do you get nervous thinking about standing on the edge of a cliff or walking on a walkway that like has a, 300-meter drop right over the side, right? It's a little terrifying. Well, about 4 years ago, Ericsson did a study and they put sensors on people's heads And they asked people questions. They said, like, how nervous do you feel about standing on the edge of a cliff? And they measured your stress response. Interestingly, they found that slow mobile apps are more stressful than standing on the edge of a cliff. And so why that's important is if people are stressed out when they're using your app, that's a negative response and they're less likely to reuse it. So we spend all this time getting people to download our apps and get people there and to install it. But if they're stressed out and they're not happy using the application, they're less likely to use it, probably more likely to uninstall. And if you're building an e-commerce app, they're less likely to buy stuff, which is kind of an important step as well. So there's a lot of data here. A 3-second delay, Google found, causes half of mobile web users to abandon. A half second increases frustration, lowers engagement. Like 20 years ago, Walmart found and Amazon found that people spend less money. And 4% of mobile users admit to throwing their phones when there's a slow mobile experience. So this is something bad and we should avoid it. The hard part is we want to build this rich immersive experience, which means we need to download lots of stuff in our app. So how do you balance fast with rich and immersive? Let's go into that. One of the hard parts of this is that there's a lot of latency on cellular networks, especially on 3G and 4G, just to turn on the connection. So your phone's idle and it's connected to the tower before we get any data transfer. This is just like radio signaling. It can take 2.5 seconds on 3G. It can take 1/4 second on 4G. It adds latency. It slows down the way, how fast that data can come to customers. To mitigate, and there's a lot of latency too, especially compared to Wi-Fi, right? 2 to 4 times higher latency. To mitigate this, cellular carriers leave the radio on. So after your last packet is sent, they leave the radio on for like another 10 or 20 seconds because they want to avoid this huge latency on the startup. Because if the connections are slow, people stop using data on their phones, and then like the whole thing falls apart. So that's one reason why, this is one way that cellular operators have figured out how to speed things up. However, if your app pings a lot or is talkative, it can cause the radio never to turn off. And that can obviously lead to things like battery drain, which we want to avoid. All right. So the other thing to think about is if you just sent like a ping, like this is 300 bytes of data, it let the radio on for 17 seconds. So getting into that battery drain thing. So what we're going to talk about today is some of the tools I use to test mobile apps for performance issues. I'm going to talk about some of the best practices that I follow and that are built into some of these tools. And then I'm going to show you some ways that we've made some fixes. I used to work for AT&T back in America in the United States, and I helped build this tool. And it runs on your desktop for the analysis, but there's an app on your phone. It's free and open source. Give it a look. I'm going to show you how I use Video Optimizer in some of my testing in this talk. The other tool that I've actually started using a lot more because it's just faster and a little bit easier to use is HTTP Canary. It costs $7 at Google Play. So it's not free, but it's not terribly expensive either. So data traffic from the mobile hits the tower, goes out to the internet. When I first started testing Android apps, and we're talking Gingerbread here, 2.1, all traffic was HTTP. So if I am running a network trace, I saw everything. I saw your username, I saw your password, I saw all the secret things you were trying to send over the internet. We've gone a lot better now because everything's HTTPS. So the way these tools work is they have a man in the middle running right on the phone. And so a man in the middle is in intercepting all of the traffic before it leaves the phone, before it hits the network. However, HTTPS traffic cannot be read, right? Because we've encrypted it. And that's a really good thing. It makes it harder for me to see your passwords, for your usernames, all of those things that you don't want me to see. It makes it harder for me to analyze your app for speed. So what we can do is add a certificate on the phone that lets us decrypt and re-encrypt traffic. That's awesome. The way companies have stopped that is certificate pinning. And so the idea there is the app actually looks to make sure that the certificates match. And if I'm doing decoding and re-encoding, the certs aren't going to match. And the certs aren't going to match. And if the certs don't match, the app won't work. And so that's actually really, really good too. Again, it makes my job a little harder. If you're building your own app, you just allow that cert and we're all good. And you can see all the traffic going back and forth. HTTP Canary has this app proxy that you install. And so then the certificate pinning happens after the app proxy. So I actually can decrypt and re-encrypt a lot of the stuff and it actually still works. Even if you're doing that, when you're testing an app that isn't yours, the easiest way to do all of this is to log in, fire up the app and log in, and then fire up the man in the middle and the app proxy and all of those things, and then run the test. Because the logins have a lot of security around them and they always fail. After you've logged in, then you can run tests on all the other content on the app. Usually it just fails, but Khan Academy Kids, which is videos for kids to learn education. When that fails, so I had my man in the middle running, and when it fails, they actually redirect you to example.com, which I thought was really interesting. Obviously it fails, but the way they made it fail was they sent it to a black hole, right? Example.com is a black hole. Wouldn't it be interesting to see all the traffic that shows up at example.com? The issue with that is, of course, that it might actually be sending your Khan Academy login information to example.com. All right, so Video Optimizer, the tool I helped build at AT&T, it tests all apps, not just apps with video. They changed the name because marketing. But anyway, you run your test. This is on your computer. Your phone is connected up with a cable, and you pick your device. You can actually change the network speed. And this is actually important. As you're well aware, there are areas of the world where network speeds are slow. Sometimes, everywhere, I was in Seattle in America last summer, and I had the worst coverage where I was staying, right? So it happens even in big established cities, right? Everyone gets poor coverage from time to time. It's actually useful to test your app, slow down the speed and see what your app looks like, just to, get that experience for those customers on slow connections. And then you fire it all up. It installs a man in the middle on your phone and you can test. And so the man in the middle is a VPN. Here I am testing a real estate application. And you can see that there's a VPN running. I can test the app, do all my things on my phone. And when I'm done, I press stop. The files are copied over to the computer. It also records the video. This is the video of what was happening on my phone. That's kind of cool. So you can see, exactly what was happening on the screen when the network traffic was going. HTTP Canary doesn't do the video, but in many ways, it's just a lot easier because it's just all on your phone. You don't need to worry about a computer. It's a little harder to analyze, but it's trade-offs. So one thing that I see is that content isn't optimized for delivery. So if you've ever ordered anything in the mail, and in the US and UK, Amazon is notorious for this, where you buy one thing and you get a giant box and it's just air pouches and one little tiny thing. And that's sort of what a lot of the content we're sending over the web into our apps is doing the same thing. We're sending a giant bloated version of the file when we could make it smaller. And obviously if it's smaller being sent over the network, it gets delivered faster. And so when you run Video Optimizer, there's a bunch of tests. I'm going to focus on how to optimize files and images here. So here's an application I was testing with Video Optimizer. And what you can see is they made a call to Facebook. You can see this is facebookcdn.net. And the download's 247 kilobytes. And then 5 seconds later, they made the exact same call for another 247 kilobytes. And so there's two things here. One is, if they need that content again and it's cached locally on the device, reading it from device memory is a lot faster than downloading 250K. And so caching these files makes the app faster. And then also you're reducing the data usage of the application, right? This is just doubling the data usage for exactly the same content. I think it actually, no, the time is, I didn't format my spreadsheet very well here, but we should avoid sending duplicate content. The Netflix Android app about 6 years ago didn't cache the images that load. And so every time you fired up the Netflix app, it was downloading those images again because they weren't properly caching them. But let's talk images. This is like a movie theater app in America. It's called Flickster. And when you fire up the application, it tells you, you know, these are all the movies that are in the theaters, right? And that's awesome, right? That's what you're coming to this app for. And, you know, this is what the images look like. They're thumbnails of the movie posters, sort of what you expect when you fire up the app. One thing that I am looking for is low quality image placeholders, or LQUIPs. And so what a low quality image placeholder is a low resolution version of the image. You can see here, this one from Flickster is 1 kilobyte. And so what happens is, this 1 kilobyte image is downloaded, and then as the bigger image is, while the larger image is downloading. So there's content on the screen, and then the big image appears and replaces it. And you can see the big image here, depending on which way you measure it, it's 500K or 400K. Way too big, we'll talk about that. But this is what it looks like. So you can see the app is, you can see these are all low quality, and then it sort of flashes and the high quality image appears. You can sort of see that, like the flash. I'll just play this again so you can see it. You know, watch these down here. You can sort of see it, it flashes, and then the high quality image appears. And so what that does is it gives the perception that the app is a lot faster because the images are there. You know, they're not perfect, but they become perfect in just a second. So like the way you create this, and I'm just going to actually come out of presentation mode here for a second, if I can. All right. What we can do is, whoops, I thought I left present. I didn't leave present. Just slow. All right. So I have this image here. It's just a picture of me. What I can do is I'm using a tool called Cloudnary, and it's a cloud-based tool. And all I'm doing is adding some parameters to the URL. So what I did is, let's just do this. I'm going to take this bit out first, just so you can see what happens. Now I'm going to take this image and I'm going to make it smaller. Right? And so this could be a low quality image placeholder, right? It's blurry, but you get the idea that this gives the perception that the content is coming, and then it can look, then the full size image comes in. So it makes your app look fast. And so this image is a K, 1K. So that will load up really, really fast. You can see it's also a WebP. And so WebP is supported in Android. It has better compression than JPEG. So if you're only building for Android, go with WebP. I don't know if it's in iOS yet. I know it's in iOS Safari, but I don't know if it's supported in native apps yet. All right, but then the cooler image that I built had this e-vectorize in it. Let's just load that one up. Right, if you really wanted to go sort of, instead of making it look like an image, but make it a representation of an image, I just added some vector stuff to it to make it more of a vector image, to make it look cool. So you can do things like that as well. I mean, that's sort of what it looks like here, right? It's just a very low quality image. All right, back to presentation mode. All right, and so the way Flickster is doing this is they have a similar tool to what Cloudnary is doing. You can see they just have a parameter at the end of the URL. Here they're serving the big image at quality 75, and the low quality image they're serving at quality 1 and width 31. So instead of width 960, they're making it 31 pixels wide. It just makes it super grainy and small. But then I want to show that they screwed it up. So on this page, watch the images come in. Like, look at Call of the Wild. It's the beautiful full-size image, and then it's going to flash. Flash. All right, I'm going to play that again so you can see it. Watch Call of the Wild, which is, and I'm scrolling in the video. So watch here, full-size image, flash. And so they're not using a low-quality image placeholder. They're downloading the full image, and then they're downloading the full image again. There are no LQUIP images. And so actually looking into the code, I can see what's happening. The first request looks like it should be an LQUIP image, right? They have the width 31 quality equals 1, and then the second image is quality 75. The problem is when you have 2 question marks in the URL, the web view or whatever's making the HTTP request ignores the second one. So in reality, it's requesting the same image in both of these cases, right? It's ignoring the LQUIP bit. And so this is just an error in the coding of the application. But as a result, it's downloading a 1.7 megabyte image twice. And so obviously that's 3.6 megabytes. And that's a crazy amount of data to be downloading for one image just because of a typo. So this is where that analysis really helps you find out what's going on in your app. So the other part of it is this image is 1.7 megabytes, and that's sort of ridiculous for a thumbnail, right? It's showing up as, 1/3 of your portrait view, and they're serving down a 2100 by 2800 pixel image. I just did a little bit of math, and this would look great as a thumbnail on a screen that's got 6500 horizontal pixel width. It's too big for a 4K TV. Right, so this image is going to look awesome on a 4K TV, but so why are they serving it to a mobile phone? And especially, it's just a thumbnail. Like no one's really looking at this for artifacts or anything like that. We can get this image a lot smaller. It needs to be served in the right dimension for the use it's being used for on the app, and so it needs to be responsive. And so, as an example, let's just assume my screen is 1500 pixels wide. If I make it 500 pixels wide, it's 99K. And I'm actually just using their resizing tool, right? I'm just going in, like playing with their parameters and downloading it from their server. If I resize it to 350 pixels wide for a 1080 screen, we're at 62K. Both of these are pretty reasonable, whereas I would say a 1.7 megabyte image, generally you don't need that high quality in a mobile app in general. There are times where you will, but mostly you don't, especially as a thumbnail. So by properly resizing this, the app is going to be a lot faster. Like downloading 1.7 megabytes versus 100K, right? 17 times faster. And this happens in common apps. So Spotify, you've probably heard of it. I don't know if you have Spotify. But anyway, Spotify, when you're listening to a playlist, you get all these images down the side. They're 640 pixels wide, right? I don't think anyone ever in the Spotify app clicks this to get the bigger version of the image. If you did, you could just download the full one, but this could be, a kilobyte, and it's several K. And you start thinking about on the scale of Spotify, if this image is being served thousands of times, times millions of albums, right? We're talking a significant amount of data that can be saved and making the app faster. So I talked about optimizing quality a little bit, quality 75. This is something that's in Photoshop and all these sorts of tools. A lot of tools now have an auto quality, which takes you to the edge of human perception. So it lowers the quality rather than just guessing what will make it look good. There's an algorithm that says the human eye can't tell a difference, so go down to this level. It always saves lots and lots of kilobytes. Google recommends 85%. I usually save it 80-85% if I don't save it auto quality. So as an example, this is Amazon Prime. And at the top of the page, when I tested it, they were advertising Game Night, Amazon Prime Video. And Game Night, this image is 500K downloaded over a mobile connection, right? That's a huge amount of data. Taking it into the tools I was just talking about, making it quality auto, I made it 5 times smaller. Right, that's going to load a lot faster, and no one can tell a difference. These are actually different images, right? As I click back and forth, and you can't tell. So, do it. It's going to make your app faster. Modern formats like WebP or JPEG 2000 can make it smaller. So remember, this is the WebP, right? And I made it move so you can see that it's different. The WebP is 82K, and because it's Android, it's just going to work. Shave off another 30 kilobytes off of that top image on the page. Netflix actually does use WebPs. As you know, Netflix is always changing the images. So when I went and tested it a second time, I got a different image, but it was 100K. for this giant image, right? Whereas game night is about the same real estate. They're serving 500, right? And it could be 100. And so Netflix is doing that, but Amazon Prime is not. So this is another one of those things like, are your competitors faster than you? There are a lot of devices out there, as you're well aware. This is the Android devices hitting Akamai. Size of the box is market share. Color of the box is CPU speed. So these are all like the latest Samsungs, and you can see there are a lot of really slow, crummy devices out there. If you serve giant images like this, well, you get the idea. If you serve a giant image, the phone CPU has to resize it. So all of these phones with slow CPUs add extra latency to put it on the screen. All right. Animated GIFs are really, really big. Right. So this movie was 1.4 megabytes. I made it a GIF. It's 3.8 megabytes. We shouldn't use GIFs in our apps because GIFs actually, instead of having compression like video, are actually just a lot of GIFs that just play one after another. If I turn it into a movie, it's 250K. And so, you know, when you use Twitter or you use any app or Slack or anything that has GIFs, they actually always use MP4s. They call them GIFs. They use the GIF icon, like when you add it to your chat, but they're always using movies because they're a lot faster. The last example I want to talk about here before I wrap up is TikTok. TikTok has been in the news in America a lot recently. And I'm going to brush on that a little bit. When you fire up TikTok, they pick the most popular videos or the videos that are going to show up in your feed, and they download the first half of the video, so about a megabyte each. So this video, as you can see, is half loaded. It's ready to go. And I can watch half of it. And in those 10, 15 seconds, while I'm watching the first half, it can download the second half. And so they're preloading this data so that I can watch the videos and the application is fast. So in the news, right, there's a lot of stuff about how TikTok is spying on us and getting information from us. And, you know, we need to ban it in America. So I looked through TikTok and I didn't see anything really nefarious. Now, granted, if they were being nefarious, they'd probably try to hide it a little bit better. In all the articles I've read, it said like TikTok is grabbing your device name and your IP address and your location and blah, 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 blah. Just about every single app out there does that, right? That's just basic analytics. So like take those clickbait headlines with a little bit of a grain of salt. One thing that they do that's really interesting is all of their views are HTML views. And rather than download the views like HTML, like where you download the HTML and the CSS and the JavaScript, they download giant zip files. So this zip file is 5.4 megabytes. You unzip it, and it's 25 megabytes. And literally, it's images, CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. Like it's this weird packaging of HTML into zip files. And I think there's a lot of data being wasted here. I didn't do a line-by-line audit of these three JavaScript files. You can see they have different parameters at the end of them, but they're all 5.4 megabytes. And I kind of have a feeling that they're all really, really similar. So they've got three different views here, and they're re-downloading the same JavaScript over and over and over again. Obviously, that can be a lot more efficient and possibly save, 10 megabytes zipped, maybe a megabyte, or 10 megabytes unzipped, maybe a megabyte zipped. It'll make it faster. They had a whole section on coronavirus, right? And so you can see all the info. It was kind of neat to go through all of this. But again, I didn't see really anything going back and forth that was nefarious. I do see here they are downloading 2 versions of every single font, right? If it's Android, you can probably get away with just the WAF. You don't need the TrueType. But in this case, it's just like, that's just wasted megabyte of data right here. Lego Control. This is actually an APK issue that I found with this application. The app was 300 megabytes. Like my kids gave me a really cool Lego set, and I had to like uninstall stuff from my phone to get this onto my device. And then like I couldn't take photos, and I kept getting limited on my phone So I had to uninstall it. And so when my son said, "Hey, Dad, can we play with your crane?" I had just like, oh man, I uninstalled the app. So we kind of have this giant crane that it looks really cool, but I can't play with it because I had to uninstall the app. So I left a really poor review. They responded. They've actually updated the app. And so let's see what happens. So I opened up the APK file, and you can see the asset bundles for each one of the vehicles dropped from 56K to 15K. So they're doing some zipping. They did some audits to make these a lot smaller so that they're not taking up space on my phone. Now, that said, they could do better. Like, I would actually be happy to download the app, and then it would say, which model are you building? And then I download the asset bundle, because really, I don't need 20 megabytes of rally car stuff on my phone because I don't have that kit. And similarly, like, I'll wait until Google Slides disappears. The 4x4 is 14 megabytes. I don't need that on my phone. It's a lot better than 100 megabytes of crap on my phone that I don't need. But we're making progress, right? It's improving. This is an app I looked at AT&T. Their analytics were broken. And so even after you killed the app, the analytics kept firing. And so you can see here is like, this is in seconds. This is using Video Optimizer. I'm over 2 hours into my test, and the radio's never turned off. Just because it's like, Doug's not using the app. Doug's not using the app. And just constantly pinging the server. We got them to fix that because obviously that was going to lead to huge battery drain and poor reviews in the Play Store. Pokemon Go, if you recall, like 4 years ago, it always crashed. And the reason for that is every single Pokemon Go install was making 5 connections back to their server. You can see these are each color-coded packet is a different connection. And so if every phone is making 5 connections to the server, it's like a distributed denial of service attack. And so you'd catch a Pokemon and the app would crash because your IP had expired and somebody else was using it. So in conclusion, I hit a lot here. I probably went a little over the time I was allotted. But we can make our apps faster by compressing the files that we're sending down, resizing all of our images, and avoiding duplicate content. And by doing that, the stuff that's getting delivered to the phone is going to arrive there faster. The phone can process it faster and get it on the screen faster, making your customers happier. So a bunch of the tools I use Video Optimizer from AT&T, HTTP Canary. That's a link to my book. Feel free to hit the link and download it. I'll share the slides with everybody as well. And then for some of the image optimization stuff, I use Cloudnary because it's a really cool tool. And with that, thank you so much for listening, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tock. So if we have any questions, you can post it on live chat or on Slack. We'll just give it a minute or two to see if there's any questions coming up. Questions? Alrighty. So thank you so much, Doug. And if anyone has any questions, they can always post it on Slack, and Doug would be able to take them from there. Alrighty. Now, moving on to something that you all had been waiting for, time for some swag. So, as mentioned at the start of the talk, start the presentation, there will be 2 multiple choice questions from each talk and a bonus Android 11 themed question. Katie would be creating a poly poll of questions on general channel in Slack, and you will have 30 seconds to answer. She then will do some magic to pick a winner from all the people who have given correct answers, and the winners will be announced at the end. So I'm assuming you've all joined the Slack, and we are ready to roll. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. What does AAPT stand for? Android Audio Playing Task, Android Asset Packaging Tool, Apple Pear Tomato, Androids Always Play Tennis. And Your time starts now. Woo, that was quick. Alrighty, moving on to our next question. If you need to apply multiple styles to the string inside a text view, what will you use? Spannable, background views, Control+B, many text views. And the countdown begins now. Oh, I'm loving the music now. Okay, moving on to our third question. Slow mobile experiences are awesome, lead to higher sales, not stressful at all, none of the above. And your timer starts now. Sweet. So ready for the last question? Oh, that's the last voucher question. So low quality image placeholders are uncommon, high quality images, improve the precision of fast, full replacement of the image. And the countdown begins now. Back again. Okay, so a final bonus question for the night for the GDG Swag Pack. Which week are we in for Android 11 weeks of Android, whatever. So week 1, people identity. Week 2, machine learning. Week 6, Android Jetpack. Week 7, Android developer tools. Week 10, games and media. Week 11, UI. And your time starts now. Hello again. So, okay, questions are over. I'll now just post all the answers. So the first answer is, what does AAPT stand for? It stands for Android Asset Packaging Tool. And if you need to apply multiple styles to the string inside a text view, what you will use is spannable. Slow mobile experiences are, of course, none of the above in the given choices. And then low quality image placeholders are to improve the perception of fast. And which week are we in? For the 11 weeks of Android, we are in week 10, which is games and media. So just confirming, we have the winners now. Awesome. So we are getting winners now. The first winner, winner for the first question is Dylan Lange. Woo! You've won a Redbubble voucher. And we'll definitely be posting these in Slack. And the winner for question 2 is Izuru Rajapakse. Yay! Congratulations, you've won a Redbubble voucher. Question 3. We have the winner as Hitain Bahari. Yay! Waiting on for more magic. Come on, Katie. And it is coming up. We need some drum rolls. Yay! So question 4. Winner is Karthik. Congratulations. You've all won Redbubble vouchers. Yay! More links would be provided and information will be provided on Slack. And we are just waiting who won our GDG swag packs. And that would be Zakaria. Yay! Awesome. All right. Okay, so yes. So, alrighty. We have 2 winners, as mentioned, for GDG swag pack, and our second winner is Bramley. Yay! So congratulations to all the winners. More details would be provided on Slack, and yay! And now I would like to end the event thanking everyone. Katie, we have here. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, Katie, Matt, all our speakers who took out that valuable time for such amazing talks. And thank you, everyone, for attending the meetup and making it such a success. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach us out on Slack. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Stay safe and au revoir.